Hi folks, how are you doing? Let us take a look at this interesting game played in the first round of Tata Steel Tournament 2014 between two very young and very talented, very gifted players, Richard Rapport as white and Wesley from Philippines as black. The game is overall quite interesting, but mostly in the final part of the game is very interesting, how Wesley sacrifices a pawn to create lots of counterplay, lots of activity, and finally wins the game. So there we go. Richard Rapport as white plays b3. There we go. Very creative and brave game so far in this tournament by the young Hungarian GM. He has played b3, the Larsen, he has played the Budapest Gambit, he has played the Trompowsky, playing versus the elite, so very brave and creative. And we see the main line, e5, bishop b2, knight c6, protecting, e3, knight f6, and bishop b5, with a fairly simple idea of taking on c6 and winning the pawn on e5. Of course, black has a couple of ways to avoid this, bishop d6, d6, queen e7, and Wesley chose one of the most sound ways, bishop d6, knight a3. Now you don't want to block that bishop with knight c3. This is the main piece you develop, the first piece you develop in the Larsen, so knight a3 makes lots of sense. And here a6, asking explanations to that bishop. And well, he takes, and now knight c4, attacking both the bishop, threatening to threatening to restore the bishop equilibrium, let's say, and also threatening to win the pawn on e5, something which is more important. Okay, and black has to give up the bishop pair back if he doesn't want to lose the e5 pawn, so queen e7 is more or less forced, protecting e5, and now knight e2. Now just more or less completing development. Knight f3 doesn't make that sense because e4 would cramp white's position a little and the knight wouldn't be very safe on f3. So knight e2 makes lots of sense in this kind of position, in this Larsen opening. And here interesting move, b5, grabbing space on the queen side and also forcing the exchange. Takes d6, c-take, undoubling pawns. And here Richard Rapport plays something which, according at least to my database, seems to be a novelty, a4. There are a couple of games played here, but not with a4. And okay, is playing in the white while his development is almost complete. It's an interesting idea. Try to create something in the flank, although this doesn't seem to be very dangerous for neither player. But okay, it's a game, it's playable, it's okay. And here, actually, black has lots of decent possibilities. For instance, he could take, and after rook a4, a6 could be potentially weak in a future, but doesn't seem so to be a very source of big headache, because you have opposite colored bishops, so this bishop on b2 will never be able to attack on c6. It is already protected by the rook and the bishop, and doesn't seem to be a great deal for black. Black could also castle, and if takes, of course you can take with the a pawn, but c takes, castle, and well, this is still very roughly equal. But instead, Wesley went with another very logical move, b4, just pushing the pawn forward. And well, now you got already a pawn there on the fifth. You have some space on the queen side, and black is standing well. So castle. Here, I don't know, knight g3. Not really sure if this knight is better on g3 than on e2. Now he doesn't have squares on e4, f5, or h5 to go, so I think it seems more logical, at least to my eyes, to play something like f4, trying to break. And if he takes, knight takes f4, white could have some activity on the king side. Now his bishop is not blocked anymore, and this open f file could benefit him. Of course, black doesn't have to take, but anyway, f4 seems natural. But okay, there we go, knight g3. Now knight d5, centralizing, and now he went for f4. Richard Rapport wanted just to prepare this f4 with knight g3. And here, well, once again, a couple of options for black. Wesley plays f6, Seems logical to stop that and reinforce the center. E takes f4 also seems good. Now f5 I think is strong to stop f5 from white, and now for instance e4 and g4 are under black's control, and doesn't seem really that white has that much attack or activity or whatever. This must be more or less equal position, but very playable, interesting play. Instead f6 was played, and now a5 taking, and now I don't know, black is looking good. I don't see any problem for it, but instead a5 was played here, creating now lots of pawn formations here on the queen side, which could be interesting in a eventual endgame. Here c5, f takes, rook takes f8, queen takes f8, and queen e2, with the idea of activating the rook to f1 with some tempo. Now white has a little bit of initiative, but black has lots of presence in the center. Although he hasn't completed development yet, white doesn't have that many pieces attacking, and well, although it could be a little bit dangerous if if black is careless, doesn't seem to be a very dangerous position for black. But okay, this is a good idea. Queen e2 to try to create some activity in the king side. Anticipating queen e7 and queen d3, obviously attacking the knight. Now bishop b7. Seems a good way to defend it, also putting the bishop on the big diagonal. Now rook f1 and queen d7. Maybe anticipating knight f5, attacking the queen on d7, and also I think black could somehow in some moment have the idea to put the queen on c6 and have this diagonal targeting the g2 square. It's a possibility that I would think of. Queen c4, pinning the knight, and now king h8, just getting away from that pin to not have some problems. The queen goes to h4. White is definitely trying to create something on the king side, not risking too much, but he's trying to get some activity on the king side. As the bishop now on b2 is blocked, now white hasn't attack really doesn't seem to be very dangerous, but he's really trying. Now black must be careful. His own bishop and rook are far away from his king, and if white succeeds to coordinate, he could be in danger if his pieces are too far away, like now from the king, to defend the king side. Queen e6, just keeping everything under control. Queen e4, and now bishop c6, just unpinning because the bishop on b7 was pinned. It wasn't protected. Now black has the possibility to play knight d7, defending the bishop and attacking with it the queen. And now queen f5, offering an exchange of queens. In this endgame, Rapport considers that he would be better. Now he's offering an exchange of queens right away, or via queen f8 check, rook takes f8, rook takes f8, queen g8, rook takes, queen takes, king takes. And in fact, here taking, it seems this is losing. The first side, I really don't see why should it be that bad as my engine suggests. It gives more than 2 points of advantage for white, which is quite a lot, also almost winning, or more than a winning maybe. But it seems that these pawns on black squares are really weak. Black doesn't have great coordination, and now black is in lots of troubles. It seems. Rook d8 doesn't work to defend the pawn on d6 because you can't take. This is checkmate on the back rank. So the engine suggests to play bishop b5, rook f2, and now some strange looking moves. c4, takes. Now white takes, attacking the bishop. Bishop a2, now white takes also the e5 pawn. This is 2 pawns up, and although there are opposite colored bishops, this could favor white as he is attacking, and black won't be able, for instance, to defend dark square with the bishop. So this probably is losing already for black. So probably this is the reason that Wesley didn't go for this endgame. So he played queen e7 after queen f5, and now knight e4, rook d8, just overprotecting everything. h4. White doesn't have that much to do, so he goes ahead with this pawn. king g8, h5, bishop d7, attacking, queen f3, and now bishop b5. Rook f2 seems a little bit artificial, so d3 is okay, and now h6. And well, it seems that Wesley has this under control. His position looks rock solid. There doesn't seem to be much problem. Knight g3 to go to f5, improving the knight's position. Queen e6, knight f5, and knight e7. Of course, the exchange would clearly favor black. Now here, I mean, if anyone, it could be better. It's probably black. So knight h4 was played here. The knight is looking for good squares. Bishop d7, and now bishop c1. Curious enough, having played the Larsen opening, in which you put your hopes and you develop first the bishop to b2 into a great diagonal, it seems. Now it's white's worst piece, so he must relocate it. Interesting. Bishop c1, now rook e8, keeping just once again everything under control. We're on the 30-something move, so probably they had some kind of time trouble here. e4, blockading light squares. King h7 just in case, because the bishop now is targeting h6. There could be some tactical tricks there. Knight f5, and now black takes. Also, it was interesting, I think, to play rook f8, g4, and once again, this is absolutely fine for black, it seems so. So anyway, he took. Now taking with the queen. Once again, if anybody could be better here, I think it's black, because it doesn't seem white has anything. But he took for that reason with the pawn. Now queen f6. Here we are on the 35th move already. Nothing really that great happening, but still some possibilities. Queen b7. Richard Rapport looking for some activity, definitely. Bishop b5, defending a6 and attacking the rook on f1. Queen e4 and d5. This is, I think, the most interesting move in the game. Wesley is sacrificing a pawn to create lots of activity, something which eventually will lead to the victory for him. Very interesting move, is very strong, this d5. Now queen takes d5 and d4. This is the point, opening up lines. Of course, taking on e4 is not possible. Bishop takes on f1 the rook. So bishop f4 is played here, correct. Developing the last move, the last piece from c1. Now e takes d3, c takes d3, and now some tempting and lots of some tempting and really active moves of black. Wesley played rook e2, correct. Going to the 7th rank, attacking g2 eventually. Lots of activity. Also, I think they were interesting to play rook d8, attacking the queen, and if takes, now you take there, you have some discovered attack, you're attacking b3, etc. I think it was also interesting, for instance, to play bishop c6, attacking the queen, and after queen takes, now rook e2, attacking g2, but rook e2 seems very logical as well. And queen e3 to play it here, attacking the rook, defending the pawn, but it seems this is a little mistake. Now black gets some real activity. Queen d4 check played here, and another alternative was rook b2, just going after that b3 pawn, which can't be defended that easily, and just having a very strong passed pawn on the b file. Queen d4 played, and king h2, and now queen takes, getting the pawn back in a favorable position. Queen g4 is a little tactical mistake. Probably Rapport underestimated the pawn black is going to win. Now this is forced. Rook takes g2, queen takes, and now queen takes f1. Black has won a pawn. Of course, if white exchanges queens, the only one who could win here is black, and it seems he has lots of chances to do this. So queen g6 check is played here, king h8, and here he relies on some tactical mess to at least have a perpetual with bishop takes a6. Now, of course, if black takes immediately, this seems to be a perpetual. There are lots of checks for white, but instead Wesley relocates his queen to defend his own king with some checks and wins the game. Queen f2 check, king h1, and after some checks, now he's defending his own king and he can take the bishop. Queen takes h6 check, king g8, g6 check, and after a couple of checks here, now king h7, I guess it's also possible. Queen e8 was played, and after queen takes c5, just queen c6 check, forcing the queen's exchange and the resignation. And a really nice, interesting game. Just a good sample of how to generate activity sacrificing a pawn. This e5 d5 move is a very interesting one and a very nice move, really. So there we go, beautiful victory for Wesley. So hope you liked the video and thanks for watching.